The ring was supposed to be mine. The proposal was supposed to be for me. But when my boyfriend got down on one knee for his ex on my birthday, I realized some love stories aren't meant to have happy endings. So I started writing a new one. With someone new. With revenge. And with absolutely no regrets. The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the smell of burnt toast. It wafted under my bedroom door, mingling with the citrusy detergent Lila insisted on using for our sheets. I groaned, rolling onto my back and squinted at the sunlight cutting through the gaps in my curtains. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a string of birthday texts from my mom, my sister, and a few half-remembered college friends. The last one was from Evan. "Can't wait to see you today. Wear the blue dress." I frowned. The blue dress, the one I'd worn on our anniversary, the one he'd whispered made me look like the kind of woman you marry. My stomach twisted, but not unpleasantly. The bedroom door burst open before I could overthink it. "Rise and fucking shine, birthday girl," Lila crowed, balancing a tray in one hand and her ever-present iced coffee in the other. The tray held a single pancake, slightly charred, a sad-looking strawberry, and a candle shoved directly into the center like a flagpole. I propped myself up on my elbows. "You set the smoke alarm off again, didn't you?" "Only a little." She set the tray on my lap and collapsed onto the foot of my bed, her wild curls bouncing. "But I salvaged the least offensive one for you. Tradition." I poked the pancake. It was somehow both raw and burnt at the same time. "You're a menace. And you," she said, pointing her straw at me, "are suspiciously calm for someone whose boyfriend has been acting like a CIA operative all week." I shrugged, but my pulse kicked up. Evan had been acting strange, disappearing into phone calls, dodging questions about our weekend plans, even shushing me in the middle of a movie last night when his mom called. Lila narrowed her eyes. "Oh my God. You think he's proposing?" I choked on air. "I what? Oh, maybe. I don't know." He grinned. "You do." I shoved a bite of pancake into my mouth to avoid answering. By noon I was dressed in the blue dress, my hair half pinned up, my stomach a mess of nerves. Lila had long since vanished. "Errands," she'd said, which could mean anything from grocery shopping to spray painting murals in back alleys, so I killed time at the cafe downstairs. Patel's coffee house was a relic. Cracked leather booths, the scent of cinnamon permanently baked into the walls, and Mr. Patel himself behind the counter, polishing the same espresso machine he'd owned since before I was born. "Ah, the birthday girl," he boomed as I slipped onto a stool. "One vanilla latte, extra whip, as per tradition?" I smiled. "You remember." "Of course." His grin faltered as his daughter, Priya, slammed a tray of muffins onto the counter behind him. "Though some people think I should retire these traditions along with the business." Priya shot him a look. "Dad, we've talked about this. The rent's going up and you're 70. And still stronger than you," he retorted, flexing a wiry arm. I sipped my latte, letting their familiar bickering wash over me. Priya had been trying to convince him to sell for months. But Patel's was more than a cafe. It was where Evan had asked me out, where Lila and I had cried over breakups and bad job offers, where the quiet guy from 3B came every Sunday to sketch in the corner booth. Speaking of, the bell above the door chimed and him, the quiet guy, the one Lila had nicknamed Brooding Suit Man, walked in. Dark hair, sharp jawline, always in a pressed shirt even on weekends. He glanced at me just for a second before heading to his usual spot. Priya nudged me. "You should talk to him. I don't even know his name." "Exactly." She smirked. "And isn't today all about new beginnings?" I rolled my eyes, but my phone buzzed before I could retort. "Evan. Outside when you're ready." Evan looked unfairly handsome leaning against his car, sunlight catching the hints of gold in his brown hair. He kissed my cheek, his hand lingering at my waist. "You look perfect," he murmured. My face warmed. "Where are we going?" "Patience." He grinned, opening the passenger door for me. We drove to Willow Park, the place we'd had our first date. The memory wrapped around me like a blanket, me nervous in a sundress, Evan spilling lemonade on his shirt and laughing about it. But when we reached the old oak tree by the pond, my steps faltered. A woman stood there. Blonde hair. A yellow sundress. A smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Claire. Evan's first love. The one he told me he hadn't seen in years. The one whose name still made his voice go soft. Evan squeezed my hand. Surprise. Then he dropped to one knee. My heart stopped. But he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at her. I've waited so long for this, he said, pulling a velvet box from his pocket. The world narrowed to the glint of the ring, the way Claire's hands flew to her mouth, the deafening rush of blood in my ears. The ring was gone. I didn't remember throwing it, just the weight of it in my palm, the cold metal against my skin, and then the distant plunk as it hit the pond. Evan's shout echoed behind me, but I was already moving, my legs carrying me blindly down the path, my vision blurred. And then I slammed into him. Warm hands gripped my shoulders, steadying me before I could topple over. The scent of cedar and espresso wrapped around me as I looked up into a pair of startled green eyes. Brooding suit man. Up close, he was taller than I'd realized, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass, his dark hair slightly tousled like he'd been running his fingers through it. He was still in a suit, but the top button of his shirt was undone, the sleeves rolled up to his forearms. "Whoa," he said, his voice low and rough. "You okay?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My chest ached, my throat tight, and then humiliatingly a sob escaped. His expression shifted, something unreadable flickering in his gaze. Without a word, he guided me to a nearby bench and pressed a takeout cup into my hands. "Drink," he said. "It's sweet. Helps with shock." I took a sip. "Vanilla. Extra whip. Just like Patel's." I don't know why I told him. Maybe because he didn't ask, didn't pry, just sat there in silence while I wiped my face with the back of my hand. Maybe because the words were clawing their way out of me anyway. My boyfriend just proposed to his ex. He didn't react, just took a slow sip of his own coffee. That's impressively shitty. A laugh hiccuped out of me. "Yeah. You throw the ring in the pond?" I blinked. "How did you?" "Saw the splash from the path." He nodded toward the water, where Evan was now waist deep, cursing as he fumbled in the murk. Claire stood on the shore, her arms crossed, her expression caught between irritation and concern. Brooding suit man Liam, as I'd learn, watched them for a long moment before turning back to me. "Tell me who I need to ruin." It should have sounded dramatic, over the top. But the way he said it, calm and matter-of-fact, sent a shiver down my spine. Liam didn't press when I said no. He just walked me back to Patel's, where Priya took one look at my face and slid a slice of chocolate cake across the counter without a word. Lila found us there an hour later, her arms full of paint supplies and her eyes widening when she saw Liam sitting across from me. "Oh," she said, dropping her bags with a thud. "Oh. Not now," I muttered. She ignored me, sliding into the booth beside me and extending a hand to Liam. "Lila. Best friend. Professional disaster." "Liam," he said, shaking it. "Neighbor. Amateur disaster." Lila grinned. "I like you." I groaned, dropping my forehead onto the table. It wasn't until later, when Lila had dragged me upstairs and Liam had vanished back into the building, that I realized something. "You know him," I said, watching Lila root through the fridge for wine. She paused. "Who?" "Liam. You recognized him." She hesitated just a second too long before pulling out a bottle. "He's been in the building for months." "Of course I." "Lila." She sighed, setting the wine on the counter. "Okay, fine. He's Claire's ex." The world tilted. "What?" "Yeah." She winced. "They dated in college. Bad breakup from what I heard." I stared at her. "And you didn't lead with that?" I was getting to it. 3 days after the proposal that wasn't mine, someone knocked on my apartment door at 7 a.m. I shuffled toward it in my rattiest sweatshirt, my hair a nest of tangles, half convinced it was Evan coming to grovel. It wasn't Evan. Liam stood in the hallway, looking unfairly put together for dawn on a Tuesday, holding 2 coffees and a manila folder tucked under his arm. His gaze flickered over my disheveled state, but to his credit he didn't comment. "Morning," he said, handing me one of the cups. I squinted at him. "Is this a bribe?" "Depends." He tilted his head. "You accepting?" The coffee smelled like caramel and cinnamon, my usual order from Patel's. I stepped aside, letting him in. Liam made himself at home on my couch like he'd been there 100 times before, flipping open the folder with the ease of someone who'd spent years in boardrooms. Inside were printouts, emails, bank statements, a lease agreement. I sat beside him, clutching my coffee like a lifeline. "What is all this?" "Insurance." He slid a sheet toward me. "Claire's family owns half the commercial property in the city. including the building Patel's is in. I frowned. Okay. And Evan's promotion last month? He tapped another page. The one he said was because of his hard work? That was Claire pulling strings. My stomach twisted. I'd celebrated that promotion with him. Liam watched me, his expression unreadable. You want revenge? Here's how we do it. It was simple in theory. 1. Sabotage the rent hike. Claire's family was raising Patel's rent by 40%, forcing him out. Liam had contacts in the city zoning office who could stall the paperwork. 2. Expose Evan's lies. The emails proved he'd been back in touch with Claire for months, lying to me the whole time. 3. Hit them where it hurts, their wallets. Their reputations. Not their hearts, because apparently they didn't have any. I chewed my lip. This feels extreme. Liam leaned back, studying me. You threw an engagement ring into a pond. I'm just suggesting we return the favor. A laugh bubbled out of me despite myself. You're terrifying. He smirked. You have no idea. Lila burst in halfway through our planning session, still in pajamas, her hair a riot of curls. She took one look at the spread of documents on my coffee table and gasped. Are we plotting? She whispered like it was a sacred act. Liam didn't miss a beat. We need access to Claire's gallery. Oh my God. She clapped her hands. I knew my mural gig would come in handy. Turns out Lila's secret project was painting a feature wall for the Kensington Gallery, Claire's newest pet project. Which meant keys. Which meant access. Liam's smile was slow, dangerous. Perfect. Later, after Lila had left and Liam was gathering his files, I hesitated. Why are you doing this? I asked. He stilled. You think I'm enjoying this? I think you're enjoying it a little. A beat. Then grudgingly, fine. Maybe 10%. And the other 90%? He met my gaze, his voice quiet. Because no one deserves to be someone's second choice. The words lodged in my chest, sharp and true. Lila's keycard got us into the Kensington Gallery at 9:37 p.m. on a Thursday, long after the last patrons had left. The security guard, a bored-looking college student, barely glanced up from his phone as we slipped inside. The gallery was eerily beautiful at night, the white walls glowing under dim emergency lights, the artwork looming like silent witnesses. Claire's taste was obvious, sleek, modern, and painfully expensive. Lila bounced on her toes. Okay, technically I'm only allowed in the West Wing for the mural, but we're not here to admire the art, Liam cut in, already moving toward the back offices. I hesitated, my fingers brushing a sculpture that probably cost more than my car. What exactly are we looking for? Liam didn't turn around. Proof that Evan's as screwed as we are. Claire's office was exactly what I expected, all glass and sharp edges, with a view of the city skyline. Liam went straight for her desk, flipping through files with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. Meanwhile, Lila poked at a framed photo on the shelf. Look at this. It was Evan and Claire, grinning at some vineyard, his arms slung around her waist. The date on the photo was 2 months ago. 2 months. My stomach lurched. He'd taken me to a vineyard in July. Said it was our place. Liam's voice snapped me back. Found it. He held up a sheet of paper, Evan's letterhead, his signature at the bottom. A resignation letter. He's quitting his job? I frowned. Not just quitting. Liam's smile was razor-thin. Transferring. To Claire's family's London office. Effective next month. The room tilted. London. Evan had mentioned wanting to travel, but he'd always said, we should go together. Lila whistled. Damn. Dude really had a whole secret life. Liam tapped Claire's computer, awake no password, because of course she was that arrogant, and pulled up her inbox. A single search for Evan yielded a goldmine. Subject. Offer letter, Claire's father approving Evan's fast-tracked position. Subject. Wedding venues, a thread with dates. Our anniversary was circled. Subject. The girlfriend, Evan's reply. She'll be fine. She's resilient. I stared at the screen, my throat tight. Resilient. Like I was some kind of ficus plant that could be left alone for weeks. Lila squeezed my shoulder. We're burning this place down, right? Metaphorically, Liam said, already forwarding the emails to himself. The sound of the front door opening sent us scrambling. Liam killed the monitor. Lila ducked behind a potted fern, and I in a panic knocked over a very expensive-looking vase. It didn't break. It thudded. "Hello." A woman's voice. "Claire." Liam yanked me behind the door just as she flicked on the lights. Through the crack, I watched her pause, her perfectly manicured fingers hovering over her desk. Then her phone rang. "Evan, hi." Her voice softened. "No, I'm just grabbing the contracts. Meet you in 10. She left without a second glance. We waited a full minute before exhaling. Lila peeked out from behind the fern. That was way too close. Back at my apartment, Liam spread the evidence on my kitchen counter like a prosecutor prepping for trial. "So," he said, "we have leverage." I traced the edge of Evan's resignation letter. "What do we do with it?" "Whatever you want." His gaze was steady. "Send it to HR. Post it online. Mail it to his mother." Lila gasped. "His mother? You're a genius." I hesitated. Revenge had sounded good in theory, but now? Liam read my silence. "Or we sit on it. Your call." Patel's was unusually crowded for a Tuesday morning. Priya moved behind the counter with her usual sharp efficiency, but her eyes kept darting to the corner booth where Mr. Patel sat with a man in a sleek gray suit, someone I didn't recognize. They were speaking in low tones, papers spread between them. I'd just taken my first sip of coffee when the bell above the door chimed. Evan looked like hell. His usually crisp dress shirt was wrinkled, his hair uncharacteristically messy, and there were shadows under his eyes that no amount of caffeine could fix. He spotted me immediately, his shoulders sagging with something like relief. "Can we talk?" His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept. I gripped my cup tighter. "Not here. Please." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Before I could answer, the door chimed again. Liam walked in. He took one look at the scene, Evan hovering over my table, my white-knuckled grip on the coffee cup, and his expression darkened. He didn't say a word. Just strode to the counter, ordered an espresso, and leaned against it, watching us like a hawk. "I dare you," his gaze seemed to say. Evan followed my line of sight, stiffening when he noticed Liam. "Is that none of your business?" I set my cup down. "What do you want, Evan?" He dragged a hand through his hair. "I messed up. Badly. I know that. But Claire and it's not what you think." "Really?" My voice stayed steady, though my pulse roared in my ears. As I saw the emails. The London transfer. The wedding dates. His face paled. "How did you? Does it matter?" For a second he just stared at me. Then his shoulders slumped. "I was going to tell you." I barked out a laugh. "When? After the wedding?" "No, He exhaled sharply. "It's complicated." "It's really not." Across the room, Liam sipped his espresso, his gaze never leaving us. Priya had stopped pretending not to eavesdrop, and even Mr. Patel's meeting seemed to have paused. Evan leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Claire's family, they have connections. The promotion, the London transfer. It was all part of a deal." "A deal?" "She wanted me back. Her father offered me a career most people would kill for." His jaw tightened. I didn't think I could say no. I stared at him, my stomach churning. "You proposed to her?" "Because she expected it." The words burst out of him too loud. A few customers glanced over. He winced, lowering his voice again. I thought I could make it work. But I can't." Liam chose that moment to walk over. He didn't say anything at first. Just set his espresso down on my table and stood there, arms crossed, his presence alone like a physical barrier between me and Evan. Evan bristled. "This is a private conversation." "Not anymore." Liam's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "You've said your piece. Now leave." Evan's eyes flicked between us, realization dawning. "You're with him now?" "I'm not with anyone." I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. "But I'm definitely not with you." Evan opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the man from Mr. Patel's booth approached. "Evan Kensington?" The stranger's voice was crisp, professional. Evan blinked. "Yes. I'm Daniel Hartman. From Hartman and Lowe Legal." He extended a business card. "We represent several of your fiancé's family's business partners. There's been a development." Evan took the card, frowning. "What kind of development?" Daniel's smile was polite but icy. The kind that voids your employment contract. And possibly your engagement. Evan left in a hurry, his phone already pressed to his ear, no doubt calling Claire. Liam watched him go, then turned to me. You okay? I exhaled, my shoulders loosening for the first time in days. Yeah. I think so. Priya appeared at my elbow, sliding a fresh latte toward me. On the house. She smirked. Also, holy shit. Lila burst through the door a second later, her paint-splattered overalls and wild curls drawing stares. Did I miss it? Did you finally tell Evan to go? Yes, I cut her off, laughing despite myself. Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression unreadable. Hartman works fast. I raised an eyebrow. You set that up? Maybe. He pocketed his phone. Or maybe Claire's family's business dealings were always ishity, and someone just nudged the right people to look into them. Lila gasped. You nudged. Liam shrugged. I know people. I wasn't expecting company. After the showdown at Patel's, I'd holed up in my apartment with a bottle of wine and Lila's questionable playlist blaring through my speakers. I was halfway through a dramatic solo kitchen dance performance when the knock came. I paused mid-spin. Evan wouldn't dare show up here. Liam had texted earlier saying he was stuck in a meeting. Lila was supposedly on a date with Claire's assistant. I peered through the peephole. Claire. Not tear-streaked or furious like I'd imagined, but composed, her hands clasped in front of her, her expression unreadable. I yanked the door open. What? She flinched but held her ground. I owe you an apology. I stared at her. Are you serious? And an explanation. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded stack of papers. About Liam. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Claire didn't sit. She stood by the window, sunlight catching the gold in her hair, her fingers tracing the edge of the papers like they might burn her. Evan and I were a mistake, she said finally. I scoffed. You proposed to him. Because I was desperate. Her voice cracked just for a second. My father's company is failing. He thought if I secured a respectable marriage, investors would back off. Evan was convenient. I crossed my arms. And Liam? She exhaled sharply. Liam was never convenient. She handed me the papers. They were old emails, contracts, legal filings, all between Liam and Claire's family. I skimmed, my stomach sinking. 5 years ago, Liam and Claire co-founded a tech startup. Her father invested. 3 years ago, Claire's family quietly transferred company assets, cutting Liam out. Last year, Liam sued. The case settled quietly, but the terms were brutal. I looked up. You stole from him. Claire's jaw tightened. I didn't. My father did. And by the time I realized, it was too late. So why tell me now? Because Liam's not just helping you out of the goodness of his heart. She met my gaze. He's using you to get to me. After Claire left, I sat on the couch, staring at the papers. It made sense. Liam's intensity, his quick involvement, the way he'd known exactly where to hit Claire's family. But then, my phone buzzed. Liam. Meeting ran late. You free for dinner? Simple. Normal. Nothing like the calculated revenge plot Claire had described. I hesitated, then typed back. Sure. But we need to talk. Liam arrived at my door holding a bouquet of sunflowers, bright, bold, and entirely unexpected. I blinked. You brought me flowers? He shifted slightly, his usual unshakable composure flickering. You said we needed to talk. I figured I should come prepared. I took them, their golden petals brushing my wrist. Sunflowers. You mentioned once that they were your favorite. He cleared his throat. At Patel's. Last month. I had. In passing. To Lila. While he was sitting 2 tables away. The realization settled warm in my chest. We ordered takeout Thai because Liam claimed he could handle extra spicy, and then spent half the meal chugging water while I laughed at him. It was easy. Normal. Nothing like the tense confrontation I'd braced for. But the papers Claire had given me sat heavy on the coffee table, waiting. Liam noticed them the second I reached for them. His expression shuddered. You talked to Claire? Yeah. I took a breath. She said you're using me to get back at her. Silence. Then Liam did something shocking. He laughed. A rough, disbelieving sound. That's rich. He set down his fork, leaning forward. Claire's family screwed me over. That part's true. But helping you. He met my gaze, unflinching. That had nothing to do with her. Then why? Because when I saw you in that park you looked like I felt 3 years ago. His voice dropped. Like the world had just pulled the rug out from under you. And no one deserves that. The honesty in his words left me breathless. We ended up on the balcony, the city lights stretching below us. Liam stood close, his sleeve brushing my arm. I should have told you about Claire, he murmured. Yeah, you should have. I turned to face him. But I get why you didn't. His gaze dropped to my lips. For a heartbeat neither of us moved. Then his phone rang. Lila's name flashed on the screen. Liam groaned but I answered. Hey, what's? Emergency, Lila shouted. Claire's assistant just confessed everything. It's the whole thing. Get here now. I pulled the phone away from my ear. Where's here? The gallery. And bring Liam. He'll want to see this. The gallery's glass doors were propped open when we arrived, the usually pristine lobby in disarray. A security guard stood off to the side, arms crossed, looking like he'd given up on controlling the situation entirely. Lila spotted us first, bounding over with the energy of someone who had just witnessed the best drama of their life. Oh my God, you have to see this, she hissed, grabbing my wrist and dragging me toward Claire's office. Inside, the scene was something out of a soap opera. Evan was on one knee again, his face flushed, his hands clasped in front of him like some tragic Victorian hero. Claire stood over him, her arms crossed, her mascara slightly smudged. And in the corner, Claire's assistant Sophie, I remembered, leaned against the desk, looking equal parts smug and exhausted. Can't just walk away from us, Evan was saying, his voice cracking. After everything you did? Claire snapped. You only came back because your job was on the line. Sophie snorted. And because his bank account's about to be empty. Evan whipped his head toward her. Stay out of this. Lila shoved a bag of popcorn into my hands. Told you. Liam stepped forward, drawing every eye in the room. What's going on? Claire exhaled sharply. Sophie's been funneling gallery funds to my father's competitor. And Evan, she gestured at him, disgusted. Knew about it. Evan shot to his feet. I didn't know, I suspected. But you didn't say anything, Claire finished. Because you thought if the gallery failed I'd need your family's money. Silence. Lila whistled. Damn. That's cold. Sophie pushed off the desk, tossing a flash drive onto it. Full records. Claire's dad has been skimming profits for years. I just redirected some. He shrugged. To people who actually care about art. Claire stared at the drive, her expression unreadable. Then to everyone's surprise she laughed. You're fired. Sophie grinned. Already quit. Liam picked up the drive, turning it over in his fingers. This could sink your father. Claire met his gaze. I know. Later, after Evan had slunk out and Sophie had left with Lila, who was absolutely getting her number, Claire turned to me. I owe you another apology, she said quietly, for assuming the worst about Liam. I glanced at him, his sharp profile silhouetted against the gallery windows. Yeah, well, I almost believed you. She hesitated. For what it's worth, he looks at you the way he never looked at me. Liam arrived at my apartment just after sunrise, 2 envelopes in hand. London, he said, placing the first on my kitchen counter. A first-class ticket, my name printed neatly beside his. Departure. Tomorrow. I traced the embossed lettering. Claire's family's mess? To testify. Wrap up loose ends. His jaw tightened. And to prove I'm not running from this anymore. The second envelope was blank. He slid it over slowly. Or anywhere else. Just us. No revenge. No past. I opened it. A single slip of paper, handwritten. Wherever you want to go, we'll follow. We sat on my fire escape, the city waking up below us. Claire was right about one thing, Liam admitted, staring at his coffee. I was angry. For years. But then I saw you in that park and... He shook his head. It wasn't about her anymore. The morning light caught the gold flecks in his green eyes. I'd never seen him look so unguarded. London first, I decided. Then we pick somewhere new. Together. His smile was worth every second of the chaos that brought us here. Patel's was packed when we stopped by for one last coffee. Mr. Patel pulled Liam into a backroom meeting that involved a lot of loud Punjabi and what sounded like laughter. Priya smirked as she handed me my latte. He's adopting him, isn't he? Yep. She nodded toward Lila, who was dramatically reenacting the gallery showdown for Sophie. And she's officially insufferable now. I grinned. Good. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Liam laced his fingers through mine. No grand speeches. No promises. Just his thumb brushing my knuckles, steady as a heartbeat. Outside the window the clouds parted. Sunlight flooded the cabin. For the first time in months I didn't look back. The bell above the door chimed and Priya didn't even look up from the espresso machine. If that's you, Lila, I swear to God I am not covering your shift again. It's not Lila, I said, setting the postcard down on the counter. She nearly dropped the portafilter. 5 seconds later I was being crushed in a hug strong enough to crack ribs. You're supposed to warn people before you vanish for a year, she hissed, but there was no real heat in it. Mr. Patel emerged from the back, his grin widening when he saw me. The wanderer returns. Just visiting, I laughed, accepting my free latte, still extra whip, still perfect. But someone had to deliver this in person. I flipped the postcard over. No message. No return address. Just a single sunflower pressed between the pages, and 2 words in familiar, sharp handwriting. Thank you. Lila and Sophie opened a tiny avant-garde gallery above a ramen shop. Their first exhibit was called Corporate Espionage, a love story. Mr. Patel, retired mostly, spends his days consulting for the cafe and teaching Liam how to make proper chai. Priya runs Patel's with an iron fist and a secret soft spot for the barista she totally isn't dating. Claire moved to Milan, started a non-profit for artists, sent a wedding invite last month to someone not named Evan. Evan works at a ski resort in Switzerland. According to LinkedIn, he's rediscovering himself. Translation: he shovels snow. I found Liam where I knew he'd be, on our old fire escape, the city lights flickering to life below. He turned, sunlight catching the new scar above his eyebrow, story for another time, and held out a second postcard. Found this one too, he said. I flipped it over. A photo of a tiny bookstore in Lisbon, the one we'd gotten stuck in during a rainstorm. On the back, in my own messy handwriting: best dieter ever. Liam kissed me then, slow and sweet, the kind of kiss that feels like a beginning. As it was. The end.